underprivileged children taught in the Neve school for 1 year, and she takes them to, say, Tagore International School. The mother is uneducated, the father is uneducated. They said, parent teacher meeting mein kaun aayega as parent? She said, mera naam likho.
I'll come. Chinmaya Vidyalaya, you heard of.
Yeah.
I took my children to Chinmaya. So once, Chinmaya school, I went through a reference and I went and I had spoken to her on the phone and she said, Sunita, I'm very sorry, but you're coming through some good reference, so I'll take your child next year. I said, ma'am, can I come and meet you? Don't take my child, but I want to come and meet you.
Yeah.
She said, okay, come. So I took the child along and my teacher along. And we sat in the principal's room and I told her this. And as the child entered, first I entered with my teacher and then I called the mother and the child. Now I had spoken what I wanted to speak. When the child came, you know what he said? There is no choti kursi here. यहाँ तो छोटी कुर्सी है ही नहीं, छोटा टेबल है ही नहीं, because in my nursery there was a small chair and the child thought that he was going to a school and he is 4+. कोई छोटी कुर्सी तो है ही नहीं. You know, the principal looked at the kid, picked up the phone, intercom, and told somebody, get the vice principal. So vice principal came and said, take the child. Then there's a story of birth certificates. I went to Frank Anthony School. The lady taking care of the administration says, ma'am, these are the hindrances. Ma'am, certificate, birth certificate. मैंने बोला नहीं है. He said, then how can I take your form? I said, बना दूँ birth certificate. I just said that to her. She said, what do you mean? I said, बाहर भी तो जाके पैसे देके बनाना ही है. He doesn't have a birth certificate.
She got admitted children in such public schools without any certificate, without anything.
I said, नहीं है birth certificate. क्या कर लोगे? The child is here, no? Do you want to seek a Supreme Court order?
Before releasing today's video, I want to talk to you. Why is today's podcast this special? It's because this podcast, or the part 2 of the Typewriter Man of India, is stemming from a central ideology that I have subscribed to throughout my life. हम सब ने at some point when we were going out to buy groceries or going out to a shopping mall or going out to the airport, हम सब ने ऐसे बच्चों को देखा होगा who were underprivileged and we knew for sure that they were not getting educated. And we just moved on with our life. Some feeling helpless, others feeling indifferent, that why do we care? I always felt a burning pain in my heart that why is this inequality there in our country? Why can we not provide equal education to everybody? I'm proud to tell you this, that today's podcast is centered, even though is stemming from the Typewriter Man of India podcast, but it is the story of his wife, Sunita Palta. And the reason it is so important is because this is a story of a woman who has dedicated her entire life with a policy of taking no money and just support and resources from the society, and has empowered and educated thousands of girl children in our country. If you are an Indian, this podcast is going to be a delight for you. हम सब अपने life पे at some point we wonder that are miracles real? Is there a grace of God? Where is the hand of God? I would like to tell you this, that it lives through these people in society. Enjoy today's Antaraag. The story of the wife of the Typewriter Man of India. The story of Sunita Palta. I would call her the blue fire of India.
not here to talk of my achievements or anything, but I'm just telling you the process. The process was then when Godrej became one supporter, then some exporters became our supporter because
Ma'am, we need to do one more podcast. Yeah. Free education in India. We were any planning that. I would love
I
to
think we should leave
invite
at
you.
that then.
No,
because
of
mine
course.
is a very long story.
No, please tell me. Yeah.
So continuing with his story, I must tell you about the typewriter. You should not forget that, and I should not forget it. I became a student of Indian Institute of Mass Communication after marriage. I was working with National Museum, and I got transferred to Bhopal. I refused. I said, my husband is never likely to leave Delhi, so I will not leave. So I left the job and took to journalism. Sat for the entrance and I got through. And 1 year of journalism, we were to do screen printing also as students. And I, like a very, devoted wife, felt like in my screen printing class, my friends were doing some, fashion
Batik or
models
whatever.
and batik or whatever. I said, I'll do a typewriter. And people would laugh at me. My friends would laugh at me. You're so enamored by your husband that in your class, you want to do a typewriter. I said, yes, I want to do a typewriter because I wanted to make a poster and put it in his office. Typewriter ka bana ke, I will give it to him. I was just married. So I made a typewriter on the print. So canvas mein usko print kara ke, frame kara ke, I gave it as a project report. With my project report, I gave it to my director. 6 months later, I visited IMC and I get a message that the director wants to see you. By then, I had got the job also in Statesman. So I was a very appreciated person that, acha, Statesman, you knew somebody there. I said, no, that's another story, I got it. But why Dr. And if you know Dr. Sarda Prasad. Sarda Prasad was the press secretary to Mrs. Gandhi.
Oh,
He was my director.
okay.
So he called me and I slightly kind of wary of sir kyun bula rahe hain, but I went and I see that poster framed, typewriter poster framed in his office. And he said, I wanted to meet you because after many years, and you know what, I had written a baseline, typewriter needs a friendly care. And my professor, he says, I have seen students, destroying typewriters. And since you had written this baseline, and I've told my teacher also, see, one student has taught you something, take care of the typewriter. And Dr. Shada Prasad was a journalist in the Hindu, Madras.
Ma'am, actually, I want to ask you, but why the policy don't take money, don't give money? Why that
I'll
policy?
tell you,
because the organization could have grown exponentially. That way.
I'll give you a reason, because that's my personal reason. When I was working after the international organization, I came to the local national organizations, I felt that whosoever we had a lot of foreign sponsorship for children. The Palya had 35,000 children being supported in Delhi slums from America, which is Plan International. Plan International was heavily supporting us. And I felt that if I wanted to do a cultural show, the children were dancing away to glory, they were happy. But when I asked my boss, then give them lunch, he would say, we have no budgets. I used to cry, I used to carry food from home. You are earning money in the name of children, and you don't want to give food to these children. And those children were many children in the project. So I used to resist. I picked up a row with my boss. I said, no, I don't agree with this. And my principal of the school would say, no, it's okay. Ghar se kha ke aate hain. I said, they are practicing for the last 4 hours. What I felt was at the grassroots, the organizations were themselves taking a lot of funding, but not utilizing that funds for the growth
For the needy.
For the needy. In whose name you are collecting money? Why are you not doing it? You have money, no? I'm getting my salary. Why no money? Because wherever a lot of foreign sponsorship was there, when foreigners came and they talked of us and they looked down upon us in a way. The project directors and all, what is this life? What are you doing? We're giving you so much of money. But what am I to do in that? I am only given budgets to spend. And for causes which are defined by the HR persons or the bosses there, I'm the next in line. I cannot do, I have no control over that. So I quit the job. I said, I don't need the job. And then I requested him that I want to do something on my own, try to prove to people that people would say you have to listen to the foreign funders. I said, no, I can even do without money. So I took it up as a challenge and said that I will create awareness amongst our own people. No need to go to foreign countries. Then my son was a debater in Delhi University. So I gave him a cause that foreign funding thwarts indigenous development acumen or the efforts that we all can make at this level. Why go to other countries to ask for money? See, because they will have their own agenda, whether it has to be church or any other international organizations. They may be doing it for child frisking. They may be doing for anything we do not know. They don't explain what they want to do in their own country or in our third world countries. Why should they help us? My question was, why are they helping us? Is it only
They have their own
humanitarian
agendas.
values? They have their own agenda. That is what I believed. I cannot challenge that.
I
because
saw
I'm
part
not-
of that
So
reality.
she started this without money as a
I was-
protest of all that.
I
I
sort
said,
of,
I don't want to do this. मेरे को पैसा नहीं चाहिए, मुझे support चाहिए. So anybody who supported was welcome. Then friends came in. Now I say no money, no money, no money. Now at this end, when my children have gone to colleges, then this EWS story of the government came in. Then I started, because when I used to take my children to schools and tell them,
My
that
children means Sahas children.
Sahas children, that
She refers
I
to
will go
them.
with three children or 4 children, then, and 20 schools I had shortlisted in the local area where the school buses would ply. And they will pick them up. I will not, because they have no money. Books you asked, I went to the booksellers and told them that I need 5 sets of books for these children. They said, ma'am, why? I said, क्योंकि मेरे पास पैसे नहीं हैं. हम लेते भी नहीं हैं कहीं से और देते भी नहीं हैं किसी को. They said happily, okay, 5 sets, 5 bags, 5 this, small. I went to the best of organizations. I went to Luxor and said, I want some writing instruments, means pencils and erasers and things. I said, ma'am, how much do you need? I said, 2 cartons. He says, ma'am, that a local dealer will give you. Why are you approaching me? He was the GM. I said, no, I approach the highest office and I want the highest office to be involved in this. Then I did my fresher parties in NIFT, Delhi. I said, you will do your freshers party with my children. They will perform for you a little bit. And the whole of NIFTarians, they took my children to McDonald's. Because, what I feel is people are generally good. They are all good-hearted. They want, and my children are good. सबसे बड़ी बात है that my children were good.
so
And train them. पैसा वैसा नहीं चाहिए. अब 30 साल बाद. Now we are doing some household, what do we call it, craft items. And I'm engaging the mothers of my children who are now old, who were earlier working in the kitchen. मैम कुछ हमको भी दे दो, अभी want to be, आज बड़े बच्चे भी बड़े हो गए हैं and थोड़ा सा demands, they want to raise their stature in this society also. तो थोड़ा हम और पैसे कमा लेंगे. So I gave them 1 or 2 machines during COVID that you work at home. You need not come to school because COVID school had to be closed down. So I gave them the machines at home. They got orders. So some of them have started their own setups. They do the tailoring jobs. For me, the mothers I could not do adult literacy because I was too preoccupied with the kitchen and all this. So adult literacy I could not do. So for which they had to be trained on. Then I had a sewing class. So they were
There's
learning.
again a typewriter connection here. Those ladies
Oh,
in
yeah.
the tailoring class, they make typewriter covers also for us.
And we give the typewriter, and they are appreciated. So that whenever he comes home and says, these many typewriters went in sale, I said, how many covers? So
think,
we do the covers.
I think you would be getting very good sleep at night.
Yeah, but one wants to do a little more. So now I'm very, very fortunate that my son, who's a specialist in drug de-addiction, he ran a rehab for a while. Now during COVID, we had to shut that off. And then he got married. Now it's a 24/7 occupation. So he's doing that online and he's supporting his dad on the social media, etc., etc. And he's been telling me, because he would also come in jobs, change professions and all that. He's been into music and many things. Finally, he settled in the rehab, and now when I asked him, Keshav, where do you want to settle? So he said, Ma, I want to do what you've been doing all your life. So that was the best compliment anybody would get from a child, from a son.
He is now
So
very
now
actively
he's
coming
taken
into
over
social
Sahas.
development.
Wow.
And I'm very fortunate. My daughter-in-law is also in the social sector. She's right now in one of the villages and she's training football. She's
You know,
coaching.
There's this reality that we are talking about, and then there's another reality. I talked to a contractor recently. In fact, that's our next podcast coming up. Why do we have bad roads?
Bad roads.
So
Okay.
I talked to a contractor very recently who I met at an event. And this person said, अगर bad roads नहीं होंगे तो नए contracts नहीं आएंगे.
I know. How mean is that?
अगर हर 5 साल नए contract नहीं आएंगे तो पैसा कहाँ से आएगा?
तो गरीब खत्म हो जाएंगे तो पैसे कहाँ से आएंगे?
So, and he was very clear about that. So I thought, okay, no, we need to do a podcast on this. Why do we have bad roads? And I'm now planning on getting some contractors on this. The reason I brought that up is because I have 2 questions left, and I want both of you to answer these 2 questions. So the first question in that set is, we have one reality where everything is good, where there's goodness in people, where people support, where they're at bad times, अच्छे बुरे वक्त, अच्छे दोस्त. And then we have another reality, which is the harsh reality of life, where things are very harsh and you look out for yourself and nobody else. And it's a very harsh reality. And both of these somehow coexist in society. I've seen that at least. So the business owners I have come across in my life seem to be very aggressive.
Aggressive?
Very aggressive business owners. Most of at least my friends who are entrepreneurs are extremely aggressive. And I mean that in every sense. Like, they will not... there are 2 kinds of people I've met, and when I'm saying friends, I don't mean close friends, because that's a different circle. When in my network, in my colleagues or in my acquaintance I've met people who would not mind cutting throats, who would not mind cutting corners.
True.
Because they say their policy is very simple, मेरा घर मुझे संभालना है. So, profit over product. Simple as that. Or profit over conscience, I can say, as Ratan Tata said. Then second category of friends who are also equally aggressive, but the cost of them being ethical takes a toll on their health. They're very ethical. They will not cut corners in the product or the service they're giving. And I mean that very precisely in terms of over projecting the labor cost or under projecting. I mean, that is business, but I'm saying extremely exaggerated figures. So these second category of people would not do that, but they are the category of people who work 15 hours, 16 hours, who get up in the morning at 7, start working, business owners, and they work all the way to 11, 10:30. And that their work-life balance is gone. They're earning money, but they don't know for what anymore. As far as I have seen both of you, to be honest, you have a more centered approach, right? I don't know the truth, so let's get there. You are more neutral. And you have also sustained a legacy of a 100-year-old legacy. And you're somebody who works in the social sector, and you've done fantastic. What is the right approach, or is there a middle approach?
So I'll tell you what I learned from my parents. It is imbibed in my way of working. I did business basically for relationships. Profit was my byproduct. My main product was relationship. And that's how it is working till date. I've never done business for profit. Profit comes on its own. And now, of course, now the things are different. Now I just don't do for profit. I just do for the salary of these 5-7 people I have. But even to start with, I never did business for profit. But profit came anyway. Of course, it did.
So, did you find yourself in spots where probably there was not a break even or there was that kind of a situation and you had to be more aggressive?
No, it never happened with me. With God's grace, things were moving very smoothly, even in those good old days. And they are working the same way till date.
Fantastic.
Relationships automatically bring everything. And as you said, a good night's sleep. It
Well-
works that way.
What about you, ma'am? What is your answer for that?
It's a very deep question, and the answer for me is not as small or as easy, because working with the have-nots is a very painful experience. Business is a happy experience because you begin with some profit, you carry home something. But here you carry home a night's sleep, but sometimes you lose a night's sleep. I remember when I opened bank accounts for my women who were coming to me, I would never give them salary in money. I would say, open a bank account. Ma'am, हमारा कौन खोलेगा bank account? This
is prior to the Jan Dhan accounts.
Pre-Modi and before that. I said, no, मेरे को, I was kind of out to prove that I can do without money, and money is not everything in life. So money has to be put aside. I am not touching money. My children are very upset with me sometimes. Ma, it is your approach only we are doing. Ma, this is like this. Ma, this is like this. I said, whatever it is, whatever I have done, I would request you to pursue that, because it has given me a lot of satisfaction and a lot of output in terms of what my ambition was. I have been able to fulfill that. Now, if you want to go slightly the other way, it's your wish. Now, I'll tell you. My bank accounts were open, and if you know, I don't think you will know, you needed references to open a bank. If I was going to a bank, I needed a reference of another person who had an account in that very bank. I went to Corporation Bank, and they said, ma'am, the reference. I said, I am giving my reference. I have an account here. So, ma'am, if she becomes a defaulter, because she's a poor woman, we had to give a passport size picture, whatever details we had to supply. I said, everything I'll take care of. If she goes a defaulter, I'm there. That's what is the job of the referee. For the next 10 people, then for the next 20 people, I become a referee for many women, because I'll keep involving more and more women. And my brother-in-law, who's a very senior official in the government, and you know how the government senior people are, he will tell me, you are doing a very wrong thing. Never do. What are you doing? If you want to help them, help another way. This is no way that you go to the bank and giving a reference. She'll run away, she'll do this. I said, whatever happens, he says, why are you so confident? I said, I'm confident of myself that I'm not doing a wrong thing. I'm helping somebody, no? So there's somebody sitting up there who will look after my interests. And till date, all my women, all my beneficiaries have bank accounts. Modi ji has come much later. And Jan Dhan, I don't know what is. When they said bank accounts, I said, hamare to sabke hai. All my women have is, they get their salaries, whatever little salaries we can afford. We give salaries to the beneficiaries. We don't give salaries to the volunteers. That's an important thing. Beneficiaries must earn, not the people who work for the beneficiaries. Work is worship. We teach our volunteers also. And I am the example that, look, I am not drawing any salary. I am a registered organization. Earlier, we did not even a bank account, but for legal purposes, we had to do that. So we opened our account, and every time when we need to offer checks to people, we naturally wanted that. So all that happened, and once my brother told me, you are doing a wonderful job. He's lived in America for a long time. So he says, in America I had seen Anybody who was doing good work was giving extra benefits by the government. The question that you asked, how is such a act encouraged? He said they get special interest rates in the banks. Any grandfather who has worked in the social sector is called on the stage on the annual day, and the announcement is made that this child's grandfather is working in the social sector, and he's given a kind of a testimonial. So a lot of this is done there, but in India, this is not the case. I said, I'm trying to create something here only if I agree. Banks I could not do. But say a beauty parlor. If a woman went to a beauty parlor, I would say that you put a money box here, and in the name of my beneficiaries, you put some I would ask the beauty parlor owner that you put some money aside for a cause. So I could do that, but I failed. In many aspects, I failed. But then I asked myself that why should people be as kind as I expect them to be? It's my desire that I fulfill my dream. If somebody asks me, what do you feel? As you said, night sleep. So once I was working with these children, and a police commissioner asked me, ma'am, all their parents are thieves. They do a dacoity and you are taking care of their children. I said that their children are not at fault. I'm working with children. Ma'am, you can get a job in a good plush space. Why are you working with these children, coming to the slum and doing all this? I said, I do it for my own satisfaction. The first principle that any businessman, share this with my husband also. The first principle is that anything that you do in life is for yourself. Don't think you're doing it for anybody else. Then my brother said, oh, you can say that because your husband is very supportive. I said, I fully agree. But don't forget, you understand a bit of Hindi, no?
हाँ एकदम.
So I said,
मैं दिल्ली में था, नोएडा.
Noida rahe ho?
Yeah.
Okay.
Born and brought up in Delhi.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I said, सामर्थ्य मेरे पति का है और समर्थता मेरी है. ये दो चीज़ हैं हमारे पास by God's grace. I will not deny that he's been supported. I've been in and out of jobs.
Yeah.
Not only for bank guarantees she used to sign, underprivileged children taught in the Neve school for 1 year, and she takes them to, say, Tagore International School. The mother is uneducated, the father is uneducated. They said, parent-teacher meeting में कौन आएगा as parent? She said, मेरा नाम लिखो.
I'll come. If they can't come, I
They
would
say, we
prefer
can't
if they
communicate
come.
with those people.
Okay, then you know how the kind of hindrances that you face in this field. Or even in business, you may be feeling it. You know, people comment, इतना खुद कमाते हैं, देते क्या हैं, and why they ill-treating people. Business people do hear all that. हम लोगों को तो फिर भी लोग कहते हैं चलो भला काम कर रहे हैं, आपको तो बिल्कुल नहीं कहेंगे. तो मैं ये सोचती हूँ कि one of my principals in top Delhi school, you know Tagore International School if you have lived there.
Yeah.
They were I have 23 children there who have studied free of cost. No books, no fees fee, nothing.
No
They
school,
just have
no
to
school
go.
bus fee.
No school bus. Chinmaya Vidyalaya, you heard of.
Yeah,
I took my
Chinmaya.
children to Chinmaya. Somebody said, Chinmaya में कौन लेगा आपके बच्चों को? मैंने कहा देखते हैं लेगा कि नहीं लेगा. So I went to Chinmaya. I spoke to the principal through some reference because Delhi schools are now forts. You can't enter their schools, you know. There'll be a receptionist, there'll be a guard, क्या काम है, क्यों आए हो, and all that. So my cards sometimes worked because I'm a journalist and people had seen me around, my articles in the Hindustan Times, and people had seen my face and I would enter. But in some schools I was denied entry also. So once, Chinmaya school, I went through a reference and I went and I had spoken to her on the phone and she said, Sunita, I'm very sorry, but you're coming through some good reference, so I'll take your child next year. I said, ma'am, can I come and meet you? Don't take my child, but I want to come and meet you.
Right.
She said, okay, come. So I took the child along and my teacher along. And we sat in the principal's room and I told her this. And as the child entered, first I entered with my teacher and then I called the mother and the child. Now I had spoken what I wanted to speak. When the child came, you know what he said? That there is no choti kursi here. यहाँ तो छोटी कुर्सी है ही नहीं, छोटा टेबल है ही नहीं, because in my nursery there was a small chair and the child thought that he was going to a school and he is 4 plus. कोई छोटी कुर्सी तो है ही नहीं. You know, the principal looked at the kid, picked up the phone, intercom, and told somebody, get the vice principal. So vice principal came and said, take the child in. And my teacher and me, we are actually दोनों ही रोने लगे. And the principal said, and now I'll also start, please go.
But also the condition of government schools in India.
I vowed not to send children to government schools because they learn all kind of vices there, but some of the schools now, and that's a very long story.
Because
I will tell
the
you.
free education is a right, basic
It's
right
a-
of
who
every.
cares for the right?
Exactly.
Even when now this thing has come, 20% reservations and free ship to poor children, under 10,000 if the father earns, they give you free ship, but then people make salary certificates and all, magistrates and all. Everything is going on. But anyhow, I'm not here to comment on what the government does. I know what I do and what I can do. Then there's a story of birth certificates. I went to Frank Anthony School. The lady taking care of the administration says, ma'am, these are the hindrances. Ma'am, certificate, birth certificate. मैंने बोला नहीं है. He said, then how can I take your form? I said, बना दूँ birth certificate. I just said that to her. She said, what do you mean? I said, बाहर भी तो जाके पैसे देके बनाना ही है. He doesn't have a birth certificate.
She got admitted children in such public schools without any certificate, without anything.
I said, नहीं है birth certificate. क्या कर लोगे? The child is here, no? Do you want to see the Supreme Court order?
Oh.
So you have to be aware of all this, you know. So, and my children were taken in.
There was an interesting case about the child getting admission into a public school. On the first day of
How
school
he has
opening,
my stories and I have his stories.
the first day,
I am loving how both of you are so much in love with each other and you're so much in love with typewriters.
Typewriters. Totally typewriters.
So, you know, the first day
I'm
of
sorry
school
I
opening-
It's just
intervened.
amazing.
My son is going to curse me. Mama, I didn't want you to enter his domain totally. बहुत हो गया ना. He has a lot to tell about typewriters also. अभी भी वो दूसरा
See, but again, that.
here I'll tell you something very interesting.
Yeah.
You can take it on record or you take it
अपने
off
आप ही बोल
record.
रहे हैं interesting.
बता रहा हूँ. This is something very interesting and connected with typewriters and relationships.
Yeah.
A very senior lawyer contacted me through internet. Palta साहब, I want to visit you. आ जाओ जी. Typewriters मेरा देख के कहता जी, I have come to you because I saw you on internet and I have a lot of collection about film media, film posters and this and that. He has Reader's Digest all issues of 32 years tagged one by one, month-wise.
He's a collector.
He is that kind of a collector. And he said, now I have started taking typewriters in my collection, so I want you to come and see my collection. So we developed relationship with him. And he said something very fantastic. He said, these days, people are so used to use and throw technology. टेलीफोन है 1.5 लाख का भी होगा तो 5 साल में ख़त्म.
Exactly. Smartphones.
टाइपराइटर में ये वैल्यू है, इट लास्ट hundreds of years, many years, decades of years, maybe 100 years. And the sad part, he says, is this use and throw technology has made brains of young people so polluted that they use the same system in relationships.
Yeah.
Use and throw.
Yeah. And there's a
A
term
little
for
bit
it.
of khatpat.
There's a term for it
and
now.
then-
Casual relationships.
I know.
Yeah.
No, even married people, they say a little bit of khatpat. Instead of repairing, throw it. Throw the relationship.
That's not the scar them so badly.
Yeah,
Yes.
There are
so
people
that's
doing
what it would be lovely to take both of you on a podcast for that marriage and myth. I
फिर
don't
आ
mind doing
जाएंगे।
it anytime. I would love to do this one because I was looking for this kind of a couple.
नहीं, आ जाएंगे. Whenever you call us, we'll come.
Okay, so the last question, and that is, so this, with the answer, I actually want a little bit of a specification on if it is possible and how it is possible. In business and in social service, this is relevant for both because I do animal rescue. Like, it's not
You
some
do?
animal rescue.
Okay.
So I
Animal
don't do
rescue.
it. Yeah, I don't do
Okay.
it actively. I've done 10 to 12 cases, but I have a lot of friends who do it actively.
This is with
Okay.
pets? With your pets?
Dogs, cats on the
cats.
road, CD cases, amputated, etc. So I've done 10 to 12 cases. I'm nothing because
We
I have
have one
friends.
rescued pet in our family. My daughter-in-law is fascinated and is, she's surrounded by pets all the way.
Yeah,
So we are very lucky.
So the question is?
Yeah. So the question is, in both sectors, social service or business, people have this idea that you cannot make something happen in 8 hours. Right? So if you're working 8 hours a day, that's not enough. So in fact, this is a burning issue because I've come across minimum 100 people who've burnt out over a period of time. 8 घंटे कुछ नहीं. They go 10, 12, 13, 14. Is this true according to you that 8 hours में कुछ नहीं होता? You need more than 8 hours, or is a sustainable business or a social setup possible where you're making a difference in society in 8 hours without stretching it?
I have a very small, to the point answer to this.
Yeah.
If you love your work, you don't have to work a day.
It's a lovely
Yeah.
statement.
That is so.
If you love your work, you don't have to work a day.
but you
आज
still get
घंटे
burnt
करो
out.
कि
But you
नहीं?
still get burnt out, right?
I know.
If you love your work, you will not get burnt out.
But beyond 8 hours. You
अरे
always
रात को
used to
12
say-
बजे भी मुझे कोई मैसेज आएगा ना, टाइपराइटर, I'll open my eyes like this. I really do that.
See, I'll tell you my experience. I love music. I love this production. But there are days where I'm on a Saturday and I am working till 9:30. I get very burnt out, right? And this is my reality that I'm sharing. So it's true. What you're saying is right. When we love our work, we don't feel like it's work. We feel like we're having fun. But still, body gets tired from that point of view. Mind might be active.
टायर्डनेस भी यहाँ पे ज़्यादा होती है, फिजिकल नहीं होती है. एंड द सेकेंड आस्पेक्ट ऑफ दैट इज, वन इज इफ यू लव योर वर्क, सेकेंड इज इफ योर फैमिली इज ऑल्सो इन्वॉल्व्ड. यू वोंट बिलीव, एवरी अदर डे आई हैव अ स्टोरी टू टेल हर व्हेन आई रीच होम.
If he doesn't,
आज
I
ऐसा
ask for
यंगस्टर
it.
आया था, उसने कभी टाइपराइटर नहीं चलाई, वो बैक स्पेस दबा के बोल रहा था हाउ टू इरेज. आई शेयर दो स्टोरीज विद हर एंड शी
Except the profit he makes. I don't ask.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I have a very
So similarly,
bad
my children
social
also feel involved in
implication.
typewriters. My wife also is involved in typewriters. So that is another aspect. So we work as a family. Actual work I am doing, but theoretically they are all with me. That's another aspect why I don't feel worn out.
We are very lucky our children are also like that. Like if I ever happen to ask, it's just a presumption. If I ever happen to ask, अच्छा कितने की machine आप, if you are doing this and how much did you buy it for, say 10 years ago, my sons would immediately come in and say, Ma, how does that matter? And he's telling a story and we are okay with it, बस. Story सुना के बस हो जाता
Yeah, what
है.
is important is that the buyer was so happy having
हाँ.
purchased the
और
typewriter.
उसने वो थैला लिया कि नहीं लिया. And he is telling me, I told him last week only कि whatever bags you sell that we make, Sahas makes, उसकी फोटो खींच लिया करो. Because I want to show it to my ladies. कि देखो ये बैग बिक गया आपका. I ultimately want to do that they should get all the benefit and the appreciation because they tell me बहुत अच्छा बनाया आपने, बहुत अच्छा बनाया, because every time it's a new bag because we do it out of remnants of cloth which is donated to us. and we can reduce the price, keep the cost for the person who makes it. We give, उसको मेकिंग कॉस्ट दे देते हैं, जब मतलब 70 रुपये उसको देने हैं तो उसके तो गए, कपड़ा हम फ्री ले लेते हैं.
Right.
तो उससे हमको पीपल आस्क मी ये बैग इतना सस्ता कैसे हो गया, मैंने कहा कपड़ा फ्री है. अब जो बिजनेस एटीट्यूड वाले हैं बोलते हैं माँ कॉस्ट भी तो करो इसकी. माई सन टेल्स मी, माई यंगर सन टेल्स मी, आप कैसे कह देते हो कि फ्री है कपड़ा? फ्री नहीं होता. यू मेक एन एफर्ट, नो, यू राइट टू मिस्टर मेहता, मेल भेजते हो ना, यू पुट योर हार्ट एंड सोल. नाउ कमिंग टू योर क्वेश्चन, आई वांट टू से दैट
Is 8 hours enough? Yeah.
in social field you do get burnt up, and I'm actually criticized and blamed that you've burnt yourself up. Because the time I got stroke and whatever little problems physiological, though I'm hale and hearty, that's not a problem, because stroke also touched me and went off. So I feel that's lucky. And then my friends would tell me, because you do so much good work, that's why God has spared you. Otherwise, it was a big thing when even the doctor told me that I've suffered a stroke. Then the family gets insecure. My sons are very insecure. They wouldn't let me travel alone, which I'm so used to, traveling alone all over India. We've gone on, work and otherwise also. But they get insecure, so that's a loss. But in the social field, I used to tell us to laugh that I write all my letters in sleep. And I would tell Keshav, who's a psychoanalyst, Keshav, why does this happen to me? That I am writing better when I'm sleeping. She says, Ma, I don't know, because you are 24 hours thinking of this. Get out of it. Meditation kiya karo. Get out of your work. You never get out of work. हर समय you are thinking of, अच्छा ऐसे कर लो उसको ये फ़ायदा हो जाएगा, ऐसे कर लो उसको ये फ़ायदा हो जाएगा. हर समय वो तो सोचते रहते हो आप. तो मैंने बोला, I think you are made like that. ना, इसमें you can't help. Yeah, my parents have taught me that. They burnt themselves up. I don't think this can be helped.
I would just like to, as a closing statement, because I think this is the longest podcast I've done in my life. What's the record? It's 3 hours? 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, this is the longest podcast I've done in my life.
Lovely.
And I would just
Sum up now.
I'd love to make a closing statement and just add something to this conversation and actually to both of your life. I think the main reason you're not getting burnt out is because of the love that you share.
Maybe yes.
Well, yes.
Yes,
I agree.
that's true.
I
I
agree.
think so, because I can sense it.
No, I can tell you
Yeah.
also. You think so, but I am
think
telling
so.
you.
I think so.
Otherwise, it would be difficult. Yes,
Yeah.
it would be difficult.
Not only her lovely involvement, even children's.
Yeah.
Our children are also like that. They are with us
Someone, you
always.
must hear this. Someone made a film on him. Jamia Millia students came and made a film on the typewriter man.
Right. I saw the film.
You saw
I
the
saw
film?
the film. I saw the film.
And there also I was speaking a little bit. And I told them about my mother-in-law. This stitching of covers means. Since you say that you want to do a podcast, I think that should be saved for that podcast. I am already looking forward to it. I don't know if he is. I told them about my mother-in-law when they had shifted from Pakistan, from Lahore. I was very close to my mother-in-law. And she was a hard-working woman, born on 1st of May and still, very laborious person until 75.
Born on Labor Day.
She was always very active till the last day of her life. And she used to tell me about stories about her growing up in the family. And she said, once your father-in-law came home and told me that he gets the typewriter cover stitched by someone outside home, which was made of resin then. And you know how difficult it is, how tough it is to stitch on a sewing machine on the resin. So she said, I asked my husband, means his father, that how much do you pay? At that time, the constraints were they had just moved from Pakistan. They were living in Punjab mein jo jagah hai. Anyhow, so
Ludhiana?
nahi,
Moga.
हाँ मोगा में. तो उसने ये बोला, माय फादर इन लॉ सेड 75 पैसा, 12 आने बोला था, 75 पैसे होते हैं,
Something like that. Whatever.
12 आने मैं देता हूँ एक टाइपराइटर बनाने के. तो माय मदर इन लॉ सेड डोंट गिव 12 आना आउट, वी विल सेव दैट फॉर मिल्क फॉर आवर चिल्ड्रन, आई विल स्टिच योर कवर्स. So she started stitching covers. And she told, then I told my mother-in-law कि बीजी, we used to call her बीजी, कि बीजी मैं ना ये कवर चढ़ा भी नहीं सकती हूँ. It does kach in my teeth. The Dragzine makes a sound, no, when you put a typewriter cover. Typewriters used to come home. And I used to tell the whole world. My brother used to say, everything you go very gaga about your mother-in-law. I said, can you imagine? She used to tailor. She used to stitch. And we can't even make...
That's when my father lost everything in Lahore and shifted to Bombay, and we were really hard pressed.
वो फ्रूट की पेटी को टेबल बनाते थे.
अगर आपने वो पॉडकास्ट वो वीडियो देखा है, in that it is mentioned, my father started his business in 1937, and in 1947, in those 10 years, he built a house for himself in Lahore, which was not inaugurated.
And
when the partition disturbance started, they locked the house. जब ठीक हो जाएगा आएंगे खोल लेंगे.
And that house is still...
They never happened.
Never went back, no? It was a big house.
We had a very tough time in 47 onwards, before I was born.
You are very well off.
I was born in free India. But then my father worked very hard. My mother supported him in the business this way by stitching covers at home. हमने बचपन में देखा है घर में कवर सिल रहे हैं.
And I love that. And my brother-in-law who we lost in the Blue Star operation, one family member who was in the army, the rest were all in the business. And he used to tell me whenever he came on a chutti, he would tell me, Sunita, हम लोग ना पेटी को ठोक के ना टेबल बना के उस पे कवर डाल देते थे. That was our work. My father-in-law always gave us
we didn't have furniture.
Good food.
That's a different subject altogether. How after partition we faced the hardships.
And the appreciation for work and women's participation. You know, like some wives, some husbands would not allow their wives to work, no, like that.
Yeah.
But I remember my father-in-law used to be very appreciative because his wife worked also, participated in the family, income generation. Family business or generation. So when I started, somebody asked me, why do you need to do that? Bazaar se sila lo na. Because I'm all the time surrounded by women who come and take fabric from me. And I keep doing that. And I actually feel, my sister sometimes tells me, tu kya karti rehti hai sara din? I mean, you're always interacting with these women. I said, that's my job. And I don't mind doing it.
I hope you don't. I hope you don't mind me saying this. We can make a web series out of this family. Each character can have their own series.
My parents.
Each person, because now that you mentioned Blue Star, that can go into a different podcast. There is so much content here. We can make a web series out of this.
He was only 37.
Right.
Chalo, so we are summing up with?
Yeah, exactly. I'm not able to sum up because every time we keep going round and round into this. There's so much content. Yeah, but so that was the last question, the work-life balance. And I'm just, that was a sum-up question. So I'm just really happy that both of you came down. I'm looking forward to 2 more podcasts, right? So one is the marriage and myth. If you're open, let's see. So the idea behind marriage and myth was...
I would love to do that because I have a lot to say on that. You must be thinking I'm more talkative than he is. But this subject is very dear to my heart. Whatever articles I've written in Femina are on this.
But thank you so much. Sure. Thank you for coming down.
It's our pleasure all the way. And we wish you all the best for your podcasting.
And your book.
Yeah.
And
you must share that.
Yes. Yeah.